Good afternoon, everyone. So, we are going to start a new chapter in history. In this, you have chapter 9, Women and Reform. And then you have chapter 10, Lower Caste Reform Movements. Okay, so these are two chapters in your book, but we will study this chapter as per the NCERT book. So in NCERT book, these both chapters are combined together, and in that we have chapter 9, Women, Caste and Reforms. So in this, you have two different chapters, and in NCERT, if you see, you have this both chapter combined together, and we will read this as per the NCERT. Okay, all the topics which is there in your book, that will be covered. Okay, so don't worry about that. So we read NCERT chapter Women, Caste and Reform, so that you will understand, and for further understanding you can go through your book also and you can read both the chapters. Okay, so we are going to study women, caste and reforms. So women is basically related with the women. Caste, we were having the caste system in our society, and why it needed reform, why the reform was needed. Okay, reform means to form it again. So when it was there, why the reform was needed? So those things we are going to understand. So first thing is, what was the condition of women's 200 years ago? Okay, what was the condition? First we need to understand what was the condition of the woman 200 years ago. Then only we will understand why reform was needed in this for women, right? So if we see 200 years ago, there was child marriage. There was child marriage. Then you had polygamy. Polygamy was there. Then you had the sati system. Then there were no rights in property for women. Then you had no education for women. So, like this, if you see, these were some of the things. Okay. So, in this, if you see, there were child marriage. So, if there is child marriage, if you see, today the government has told they have kept age, right? In the guidelines, you cannot marry a girl who is not of 18 years. So 18, once the girls achieve the age of 18 years, then only they can be married. Then same for the boys, we have 21 years. So when the boys are of 21 years, then only they can get married. Now earlier what was happening in the age of 12, 13 and even less than that, the girls were getting married, right? So what was happening? Whatever was the result of that, who is going to face that? Basically that was faced by the girls, women, because when they were getting married in the child in the age on the lower ages, so what was happening? They were like So many of the women, because at the very early age they were becoming mother, they used to die. That was also the scenario. Right? So who is basically suffering with that? The women were suffering with this child marriage. Now the polygamy is having more than one wife. Now if you see, the male was having more than one wives, right? Many wives they were having. So in that, who is going to suffer? Basically, the women were suffering in that. Now, sati system was there, and if we go through this sati system, this was the barbarism of East. Now, how is that? That was basically when the husband died, the woman needs to go and they need to burn herself in the funeral of the husband. If the funeral of the husband is there, their wife should also burn in that. Now, if you see earlier why it was happening. It was happening so that when the kings and all, they used to attack on other kingdom. So what they used to do, the women who were captured in the battle, the losing kingdom, the women of losing kingdom were captured and they were made servants, dasis. So and they were actually the life of dasis and the servants, if you see, was very it was very pathetic. So in that condition, if you see, the women, they were doing this, they were burning themselves or they were ending their life themselves when they used to lose, when their kings used to lose the kingdom, so that they can save themselves from the capturing. Okay, to save themselves, because anyways when they are going to survive, then when the winning kingdom, the people of winning kingdom will come and they will capture them. Anyways, their life is going to be horrible. It will become horrible. So to save themselves from that horrible life, they used to end their life. This was happening earlier. But what happened with the time? This tradition changed. Now it became a rule, a law. Now it was not on the wish of the lady. Now it was mandatory. If your husband died, you need to go and do sati. Okay. Now what was happening? Suppose some of the women, either they will go willingly, either with their own will they will go, or they will be, the people will hold it, they will tie her with the stones and they will throw her or put her on the prey of that funeral of her husband. Okay, because what happens when the fire will be there in your body, you will just run, right? So in that case, they used to tie her in the stones and they used to put her on the funeral of the husband, on the prey of the funeral of the husband. So like that, if you see, with the time, the things which were done earlier for the safety purpose, that thing was made rule or law. Now, one thing, these things are also related if you see. How is this related? Suppose child marriage. Now, in child marriage, boy of 12 years and girl of 9 years got married. Okay? The boy is of 12 years, girl is of 9 years. After 4-5 years, suppose after 4 years, the girl is of 13 years and the boy is of 16 years. Now in this age, the girl is on the stage of becoming mother. And suppose she died because she is very minor and she died while giving birth to the child. Now what will happen? Again this boy, will he remain like this? Again he will get married. Now once he will get married, then again he will look for the little girl. He is not going to marry this age of his age of girl. So he is again going to find some little girl. Right? So like that, if you see, so again he married the age of 8, 9 or 10 years. Again the age difference is also increasing in the boy and girl. Okay. So like this, women were dying because of this child marriage and all and other problems. And in that, men were not, they were not marrying the same age of women. They also were looking for the women who can be mother of their child. So like that, the age difference was also increasing. So suppose okay, so in that case, suppose like this, the age of the man and woman was having a high distance, high difference. So in this, anyways, the man is going to die first. Okay, and woman will die later on because she is of early age. The age difference is more. So because of that, women will die later. And in that case, most of the women were going through this sati system. It was not that one or two women all of a sudden their husband died and they were going through this sati system. If you see the structure of the society, if you will go each and every thing you will understand, you will find that most of the women were going through this sati system, and that is why this was a very big problem, very big issue. Okay. Now, if you see, the women were having no rights in the property, and this was till 2015 to 2005. Till 2005, the women were not having any right in the property. Now, if property is there, that will be only handed over to the boys, son of the family, not to the daughter of the family. Okay. So, like this, women were not having any right in the property. But after 2005, if you see now the girls are also having the right in the property. Now the same way, there was no education for women. Nowadays, the woman is given to everyone. Everyone is equal in front of the law. All girls, boys, no gender discrimination is there. As per the law, no gender discrimination is there. So most of the women are working, most of the women are getting educated, and that is why we are taking it for granted. We are taking it very easily. But that time the women were not having the right for education. Only males, only the boys, they were getting educated. So after a long struggle, we have got all these things. So these things where if you see, where these things were creating the difference among the genders. So for these things, later on what happened at some point of time, the women were suffering because of this, and that is why the reforms were needed. Now also we were having the caste system. condition of women that time and why the reforms were needed. Okay, so if you go through each and everything, you will find that the condition of women were pathetic. Women was pathetic, and that is why the reforms were needed. The same way, if we talk about the caste system, in caste system also, our society was divided into four parts. So here were the Brahmins. Then you had Kshatriyas. Then you had the Vaishyas. Then you had Shudras. So like this, if you see, there were four parts of the society. There were four divisions of the society. Now these Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they were considered in the upper caste. Then these Vaishyas, these were basically the traders and money lenders. The traders and money lenders. And these Kshatriyas were basically the kings, rulers. These were Kshatriyas, kings and rulers. Okay, and Vaishyas were the traders and money lenders. Now Shudras were basically the weavers and the potters. They were weavers and potters. And if you see, the bottom group, this bottom group was treated very harshly, ill-treated. They were basically ill-treated by other three groups. These Shudras were basically considered as the servant of these three groups. Okay, their purpose was to serve these three groups. Now these Shudras were not considered as untouchables. They were not allowed to come in the meetings or in the temples. So their conditions were also very poor. Okay, so like this, if you see, in the caste also we were having differences and discriminations. So for these things, our society needed reform. So in this chapter, what are the things which we are going to study? This was basically the understanding of the society, why reforms were needed. Now the thing is, what are the things which we are going to study? So we are going to study working towards change. Then we will study changing the lives of widow. In this many reforms will come, which we will understand. Then girls begin going school. Then women write about women. Then you have law against child marriage. Law against child marriage. So these are the things which we are going to read in women point of view. Okay, so this is working towards change, then changing the lives of widow, then girls begin going school. When they begin going school, the women started writing about women, and then the actual condition of the front of the people. Okay, so the condition of women from the women's perspective, the people started to know. Then law against the child marriage. So these are all the reforms which we are going to study. And after that we will move towards the caste system. So when we go towards caste system, we will study caste and social reforms. This is what we are going to study, caste and social reforms. Then demand for equality and justice. Demand for equality and justice. Then who could enter temple? Then you have the non-Brahmin movement. The non-Brahmin movement. Then organizing for reform. In this we are going to study different reforms. So these are some of the topics which we are going to study in this chapter. So today was the introduction for the chapter which we are going to study. You need to go and read the chapter Women, Caste and Reform in NCERT book, as well as read the chapter in your book also, so that whatever topics I am going to explain you will understand properly. Okay. Thank you everyone for today.